Tony Messenger filling in for McGraw-Millhaven today on the Big 550 KTRS. It's 78 degrees outside. Thanks for staying with us this hour. We're going to talk war here a little bit. The president yesterday announced that he is sending 300 advisors to Iraq to deal with the ongoing situation there, in which the terrorist group ISIS has started to take over from some cities and strongholds that the Iraqi military had been holding. Very quick changing situation, and we've got to help us explain it today Danielle Pletka. She's the Vice President of Foreign and Defense Policy at the American Enterprise Institute. Danielle, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us what your reactions are to what the president announced yesterday.
Well, I think the president made some good decisions yesterday. I think that he is right to send in special forces for training and to once again start sharing intelligence and surveillance and reconnaissance with the Iraqi military. The only thing I'm worried about is that he is overly cautious in what he's trying to do, and that he may not be willing to do what it takes to push back hard on ISIS, which is a threat to the United States as much as to the Iraqi people.
What do you think needs to be done?
Well, the reality is that when we left in 2011, we stopped all cooperation with Iraqi troops, including training on the ground, including intelligence sharing, even against terrorist groups that are hostile to the United States. And so what we need to do is we need to robustly share that, what's called ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. We need to do that training on the ground in counterterrorism and in unit formation. We need to do air interdiction. We need to go after the places where ISIS is resupplying, where they are staging, and where they're moving.
So do you want to see more American troops back on the ground in Iraq?
I don't think that it's a question of American troops in combat, and that's not what the president suggested, nor what anybody serious has recommended to fight these troops, in my opinion. What I think that we need is we need folks on the ground to help with targeting so that we don't kill civilians. We need folks on the ground to help with training and intelligence. We need folks on the ground who can help coordinate. But we have other people there who are ready and willing to fight. They need our help in coordination.
How big of a threat is ISIS, do you think?
You know, it's a very good question, because we keep hearing these flavor-of-the-month terrorist groups. First, we're hearing about ISIS, then last month we were hearing about Jabhat al-Nusra. Before that, we all talked about Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and AQAP, Anwar al-Awlaki. The thing that we need to understand is that Al-Qaeda and related groups, forget about their names, are spreading throughout the Middle East. They are increasingly dominating territory, whether it's in Yemen or it's in the Sinai or it's in Syria or Iraq, and I could keep going here. And these groups represent a very serious threat, not just to us, but to our allies in Europe and the Middle East.
The more intense sort of involvement that you're suggesting, Danielle, would have to involve a little bit more of an agreement from Maliki or somebody else in Iraq to make it palatable to the United States. Is that going to happen?
It's a great question as well, and I think part of the problem with the focus that there's been on Maliki is that it's really been an effort to prepare an excuse not to go and do the right thing, which is, oh, Maliki's not a good guy, therefore we can't go. He really let us down, therefore we can't go. And the answer is, Maliki is not a good guy, but he has not suddenly become a guy who became sectarian. He has become more and more sectarian because the Iranians have been allowed to dominate inside Iraq. When we chose to leave completely and turn our back on Iraq in 2011, the Iranians were the only game.
I lost you there for a minute. Are you still there, Danielle? Okay, I think we lost Danielle. Danielle Pletka, Vice President of Foreign and Defense Policy from the American Enterprise Institute. Appreciate her joining us. She appears to be from the John McCain school of beating the war drums at this point, and that's worrisome. If you haven't read it yet, we wrote an editorial on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch editorial page today at stltoday.com comparing the president's announcement yesterday to the beginning of what happened in Vietnam. Now, there are a lot of differences, obviously, because we've been in and out of Iraq for the last decade, but sending 300 advisors is just in many ways so similar. And I'm sort of with the president. Take your time. Take your time. Don't start committing more U.S. troops to a war that we never should have fought to begin with, when we never had an exit strategy. We can't make the same sorts of mistakes going into Iraq this time that we made previously. If there's no exit strategy, if there's nobody to seriously partner with, if the threat to U.S. interests are overblown, other than a little bit of higher gas prices, then I think we make a huge mistake for this country. Remember, this is a country that domestically is still trying to recover from the incredible costs of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and how it contributed to our recession. And we can't forget that this was a president who was elected twice to get us out of a wartime footing. That's not to say that there aren't some interests in Iraq that we have to be worried about, but I would disagree with Danielle, who obviously has a lot more expertise in the area than I do, but I would say tread lightly, Mr. President. You're listening to Big 550 KTRS.